It's time for the unofficial 40. Soonerscoop.com's very official recruiting podcast featuring Soonerscoop.com recruiting publisher Josh McCuistion. Get your recruiting fix from the leader in Sooner recruiting. It's the unofficial 40 with your hosts, Soonerscoop.com publishers Carrie Murdoch and Josh McCuistion.
All right, welcome back. It is time for another edition of the unofficial 40, and I'm going to start this one way different than any other unofficial 40 that we've had today. Slow clap for Mr. Joe DuVall.
Pour coffee. Give him a little coffee there.
Very nice job, Joe DuVall. Very nice job. Trae Young, we're just back from his official press conference announcing that he is going to, that he committed to the Oklahoma Sooners. I guess we're going to talk some more about this, but I guess, till you sign on the dotted line, you always worry. But I will say this. I felt like it was more officially official today than I did, even though I felt like the Jacob Phillips thing was pretty official. It was at the time. With all the talk about his father, wanting Kansas and this and that, his father, from the times I heard him talk, seemed pretty resigned to the fact that this was going to be the decision.
Yeah, I think that was something that was a legitimate concern leading up to this announcement of, even if Young does pick Oklahoma, people that have been following Scoop or read the USA Today article understand that Rayford Young has openly been pushing for a blue blood school for a long time, and there was a concern that even if Trae commits to Oklahoma Thursday, that the second signing date for basketball is until April 12th, that he'll keep pushing Trae towards those schools even after he commits. But as you said, Carrie, while we were there, you guys can attest to it. That felt like a signing ceremony. Is essentially what it felt like, and the entire family had on the OU hats. Ray seemed. He talked about his relationship with Lon Kruger. He said, "I talked to Kruger more than you guys realize, and that this decision was a family decision." And he blew off the notion that he was in one camp and Mom and Trae were in another. And I've been saying something like this on the board for a while, but if Trae were to go back on this, he would really, really be screwing OU over, which is why I don't think that there's much, if any, chance of that happening, because the relationships he has with those guys, he wouldn't do that to them.
Well, and I'll say this, Eddie, we've been to a lot of signing ceremonies. The way that he put the hat on, you could read a sense of relief from him that it was finally over. And also, it did seem like a finality to it, just by the way that he seemed to really embrace the decision, be happy about the decision, excited. When he did announce it, the room erupted. I don't think if he would have picked Kansas, I'm sure it would have been a lot of nice. But you've been in those situations before. Like Josh Moraboko, I remember he had a lot of people that wanted. I think did he get booed a little bit in that one even?
Yeah, a little bit. That was by far the most. The Moraboko thing is by far the most awkward one that I've ever been to. This one was very much pro Oklahoma. You're literally a street down from the Lloyd Noble Center over at Norman North High School. So it was, I guess, with everything that if you kept on the scoop and everything that Joe's been reporting, it wasn't too surprising. But Carrie, I do think that you're right in saying that this was a weight lifted off of Trae Young's shoulders, and really, it's one of the more high profile, I think, commitments that we've covered as far as Scoop HD goes. He's number 14 player in the country, and obviously he's a program changer. He's a guy that when you look at what Lon Kruger's trying to build, they've, as you said, Joe, they've gone all in on this kid, and they kind of were they get to reap the benefits, I guess, of going all in on a guy. I was talking to a guy that is closely connected to the Norman North program, and he said that he's been to just about every game for the last 2 years for Norman North, and Trae Young, Lon Kruger's been at about 30 of them. So they've been all over the place. They built probably about as strong as a bond that you can get with somebody, and I think that's what ended up winning, keeping a guy home like Trae Young.
And Joe, I think what was interesting to me is the question came up today about, he mentioned he was a ball boy for Jeff Capel, and that was when Blake Griffin was here, and how much that really played into it. It really is a great story, I think, for OU fans to embrace, because this is a guy that he's not running from anything. He's actually embracing Oklahoma, the program, the people around it, the state. It's a kid that came out much like Blake Griffin. I don't know if there's any other way to compare what he's doing. He's basically saying Blake Griffin did it here. This is my path now too.
Yeah, and if you'll recall, Blake Griffin, that was kind of a big deal then too when he stayed at Oklahoma. He had a lot of different options. He could have gone anywhere he wanted. He stayed at Oklahoma, and there was a similar kind of pressure on Blake that they'll be on Trae of, you're the guy now. We expect you not only come here, but to kind of change the program a little bit. So, and Trae said today that I think he said pressure's not in my vocabulary. He doesn't worry about that. He owned it. He put that on his shoulders. Some people might be scared away of a coach saying, hey, we're going to turn over the keys to the program to you. You're in control now. Some kid think, I don't want that kind of responsibility. I'll go somewhere where I've got a bunch of other 5-stars around and we can share that kind of thing. And he said, no, I'm okay with that. Like you said, he grew up a ball boy. He grew up a fan of OU. He grew up rooting for Blake Griffin. And there is a different kind of satisfaction we get when we can kind of appease our inner children, I think. And then that he gets to get to live a dream that he had as a child. And I think the idea of him bringing great success to OU, he knows that will mean a lot more to the people around him and the relationships he already has.
It's funny to say it, but you look at this team; they're 9-16 right now. But going into next year, that backcourt is probably I would be hard pressed to think that it's not the most talented backcourt Oklahoma will ever have, with 2 top 50 guys. I mean, 2 of the top guys that Lon Kruger's ever recruited will be in the same backcourt together.
What I think that can't go unlooked is or overlooked is like Blake Griffin comes in, gives Jeff Capel a chance to really build up a foundation to this program. Then he picks a couple of knuckleheads that are McDonald's All-Americans and Tommy Mason Griffin and
Keith Tiny Gallon.
Essentially, it all falls apart, crumbles beneath him. Lon Kruger has now got the best recruit that he's ever had, and he's just coming off of a Final Four, and he lost 2 of his better assistants in the offseason. So now this has got to be, for a guy that's going through the season that he's going through, this has got to be just a big-time shot in the arm.
Yeah.
Well, think about how big of a gamble it was for them to just say, hey, we're leaving this one spot open for Trae Young, and that's it. They knew Trae could take a while. You saw Kentucky fell off. Kentucky couldn't wait that long. They said, we're going to get other commitments. We're going to move on. Oklahoma sat through it all. They didn't have any backup plans. They were evaluating guys, but they left that all open for Trae. And if they don't land him next year, all of a sudden looks like trouble again. Maybe you're fighting to get into the NIT, and that's when you could probably feel the tide turning in the program. I never felt that this year. This was kind of a rebuilding year. They lost 3 very, very important seniors in Buddy Hield, Isaiah Cousins, and Ryan Spangler. Like Kerry said, they lost 2 coaches. Now, if they struggled next year, that's a trend. That's a problem. But landing Young almost feels like it's a new chapter has started. There's going to be a new era here at Oklahoma basketball, the Trae Young era. You had the kind of the Hollis Price era at the end of Calvin Sampson. You had the Blake Griffin era with Jeff Capel. You had the Buddy Hield era, and now it's going to be the Trae Young era.
It will be. I'm trying to think of just a time that maybe going into last year when Buddy and Isaiah and all those guys, after Buddy announced that he was coming back for his senior year, but during, I guess it'll be October next in here in 7 months or so, it will be pretty exciting, I think, once he gets on campus. And I think that's something else to point out with the Oklahoma program. It's about as open of a program as you can have.
Yeah.
And anybody that wants to go watch Trae Young practice starting in June 1st, I guess.
Yep.
Could go down there if they want. I mean, it's going to be it's going to be quite a show.
Can you imagine if Kentucky had open practices?
Oh, it'd be probably like what OU football would be if they were open.
But you know what? I mean, Josh can attest to this. Josh, even when OU had open practices, And it would probably be a little different in this day and age, but you just have old retired guys come out there every day, same old day every day.
It's a group of like 6 guys that are out there literally every time they practice.
At OU for lawns practice?
Yeah. Yep. I think they go straight from having coffee at Jimmy Austin to Lloyd Noble. Seriously.
They need a fun name like the Yardbirds.
They call themselves something. There was an article about them in the, I think Scott Ryan or Ryan Aber might have wrote something about him here.
Josh will do that when he retires one day. He'll be one of those guys, won't you, Josh?
Well, I don't know if it would be a college practice, but I guess just to up the creepy factor, like I'd be at the local high school, like that guy has got a chance to be somebody, like I could totally see myself being that lame-o.
He sure needs some better hips.
Like you said, the problem was
he can't change direction.
Never gonna make it.
The college kids are too old for you to go look at.
Seriously.
No, Josh would totally
gotta
be.
Stay in your safe zone.
He would totally be that guy at a high school game, and then some dude from Rivals, some young kid from Rivals would come up, and Josh would be all creepy, and he'd be like, "Sonny, let me tell you something. I pioneered what you're doing."
I think Josh would write recruiting reports regardless of his job, and they'd probably be the best recruiting reports out there. He'd be working as a banker, and I'd still follow Josh for recruiting news.
Josh would be that guy, like, happens with all old couples, like if the wife dies, then the husband follows. Like if Tiffany dies someday, you'll
dark.
Before you, like when you're
she
old,
will in fact die.
When you're old and gray, and you can't remember.
Yes, I got you.
Josh will just keep on living because he'll find Sooner Scoop somewhere and just start answering questions.
It's in Tiffany's bloodline. Tiffany's going to live till she's like 140. Like she's like Ricky Bobby, with the advancement in technology and her advanced pay scale. She could live a long time. She'll outlive me by maybe 2 lifetimes.
I don't think I plan to live past 40. I think trying to live old is a mistake. I say you eat as much steak as you can, drink as much scotch as you can, and just enjoy it.
When I was 14, I signed a contract with a buddy of mine that he could literally kill me the night of my 50th birthday. I wanted to live no farther than that. That was as far as I had interest in going.
That's coming up, Josh.
Yeah, no, I'm staring down the barrel.
Trust me, once you get there, you're like, no, I'll stick around a little bit longer.
The part of me is yes, and part of me is like, like 5 years, see Laney get out of college, like that kind of thing. Like, okay, I can kind of get my head around that. But I don't want to be like, I don't want to live in any world where I am not completely functional. I've told Tiffany, like, if I lose a finger in like a car accident or fixing a lawnmower, like pull the plug. I just want to die. Like, I don't want to live in any world where I am not completely 100% capable.
I think when you don't have a finger, that makes you cool. It's like an opener.
You could tear out your larynx and it wouldn't matter in this day and age because you never talk to kids anymore.
That's the sad truth.
You'd be the creepy guy that goes out to practice. Hi, how are you? My name is Josh McQuistion.
There is a guy in the Texas media who has one of those scenarios. He's an incredibly nice guy, but I had no idea of it until I met him, and it was really kind of jarring because you were like, who am I talking to here? And then like context clues, you start putting it together and you're like, oh my God, this got really weird. So, I mean, like I said, I don't mean that as he's a very nice guy and he's really good at what he does, but it was a little jarring the first time I met the guy.
You'd think with the advances in technology we have, going back to Eddie's Ricky Bobby point, that those voices would be a little better than how they sound. Like I could maybe go with the Scarlett Johansson voice or something. I haven't
run into one of those guys in a while. There used to be when I worked at Service Merchandise back in the day when I was going to OU. There would be a guy that would come in with one of those things, and it was jarring every time because he'd sneak up on you, and then all of a sudden, I am looking for an answering machine.
I would love to be that guy. Think of the pranks you could play on people.
What's the guy's name that isn't Stephen Hawking?
Yes.
Yeah. Why? You would think that he would have changed his voice by now. Like if he was so, if he was so damn smart.
Better text to speech solutions now.
Yeah.
He
still uses
it's like
a
he's
computer.
messing with everybody.
Yeah, I bet he thinks it's funny.
Or he's just pulling a good old fashioned.
He's got Lou Gehrig's disease, and it hasn't taken him yet.
Maybe.
Here we go.
I mean, he could.
Do we have a truther about?
Well, he could
what
be.
he really has.
He could just be lazy. and he's just sitting around.
He's not lazy. He's like the smartest person on the planet.
I don't know. I think some of these people sometimes just kind of carry with it what they've been going with. Because when you look at a guy like Stevie Wonder, I mean, he's been doing it for what, 45, 50 years, saying that he's blind?
Okay. So Stephen Hawking has been added to your truther list.
Maybe. I'm going to do some more research on that. I'll post something on the board.
We need to give Eddie like a bit, like not like a bit, but like a moment in each podcast where he can go over whatever truther thing
He's
is
doing
on
it
his
right
mind
now.
at that point.
Yeah.
Like a Peter Griffin, what grinds my gears.
Yeah.
See, exactly.
I'll tell you what
Those
grinds my gears right now. You can't change the pick that you're going to make on a kid 5 minutes before he announces. That's illegal. You can't do that.
Bring him up on
Now-
like Association of Broadcaster charges or something.
Yeah, you can't tweet for well, I mean, subject in question's already been suspended from Twitter, so
That's all.
See,
you.
now there are going to be some people listening to this podcast that are on the board that are going to be like, we told Josh the same, because I do that signing day preview thing and I update it as like information changes. And I had a dude that was literally irate about me changing Austin Falu's his commitment prediction from from Oklahoma to Oregon the day he announced. I'm like, I found out that morning. I don't want to leave it and just say like, well, yeah, I just, I'm going to be wrong to be wrong. So I don't mind that, but at the same time, it's
you're actually doing work though, Josh. You're actually doing work and like going and talking to kids and like kind of going through the grapevine.
Here's the thing. I mean,
You can't sit in your office and then just change it.
I mean, it's about the work that you put in leading up to
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
And just going, look, you're talking about Dean. I don't want to rip on Dean, but Dean doesn't have an out.
He's on my starting five.
I don't know if he does Trae Young updates during his evening news update. I don't watch really sports on TV. I just, as an internet guy, I just don't anymore. In this age that we're in, I'm sure it's lovely for the blue hairs that are sitting at home and want to get their sports update or whatever. It's something that has been filtered out of my life is television sport. And I have dear friends that do that stuff, and they work their asses off going to high school games and getting all that footage. It's an unbelievable job that they do. Me personally, I don't have. It just doesn't fit into my life anymore.
It is pretty crazy. Like, I will watch the news, and I love Dylan Buckingham, I love Nate Fick, and all those guys. I will sometimes, usually, just turn it after this weather because it's like I already know everything that's going to be in the sportscast. It's really crazy,
and it's not their fault. I mean, they get 3 minutes or whatever.
Oh yeah, it's not their fault at all.
And
I tell them that
they're
sitting here.
They put in so much work for that stuff too.
Yeah,
I mean,
they really do. I admire the hell out of them.
And with the way it is now, I mean, it's almost inefficient to be doing it that way anymore. With how easily you can just get stuff right up on the internet.
Well, like Nate, I mean, you're good friends with him. He does a lot of stuff that you do on the web, which is he'll put up Trae Young stuff today.
Nate's been great.
I mean, you and Nate probably the two best guys at putting stuff up on the web from when you cover stuff. So it's more than about just your newscast or whatever.
I could not handle a news director. I don't think. I think I'd probably kill a news director
because you'd have to go cover women's basketball every once in a while,
or like go to women's basketball, or lead with Joe Mixon for the 35th consecutive week after such and such tape comes out, like they have the last couple of weeks.
But this Trae Young thing, it literally became, in the last couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks, it literally became, for every news director out there, it became their biggest story.
Oh yeah,
and it's really strange that it's a high school basketball kid.
From Oklahoma,
I've never
Norman.
seen, like when Blake Griffin was coming out, there wasn't this much.
See, I don't remember the
him.
day that did he commit on a day? Like, did he have an announcement? I don't really remember.
He didn't have a big announcement.
I think he was visiting OU and he was in Capel's office or something. Is how I remember that story going.
It's just crazy. That was the biggest, probably the biggest one that we've covered. I mean, I can't remember a time when there was that many cameras for an announcement in Oklahoma.
And it was I don't know, was 5 there? I know 4 was there.
I didn't see
9 was
5.
definitely there.
Everybody.
Fox 25 was there.
Yeah. Fox Tulsa sent somebody.
Did they really?
Yeah.
I think
Saw Heather. I think her name's Heather Gellerman or something like that.
I mean, I saw a Kentucky guy there. It wasn't local news, but I saw a Kentucky guy there. We know Kansas almost sent people there. And that whole room that we were in was filled also with students to the brim. That whole thing was packed. I don't think even as much as I followed this thing, expected it to get as big as it got down the stretch. Because I guess credit the Young family for keeping stuff close to the vest. I don't think people had a good read on them and what was going to happen. And then that USA Today article was really cool because that was a new thing for recruiting. Guys don't do that very often, that kind of access. So I think all of that kind of piqued the interest late. And, Oklahoma has not landed Oklahoma 5 stars outside of Blake Griffin. It just doesn't happen. And so I think once...
Well, it's like football. They're not that plentiful. Mm-hmm. You don't see them very often.
But, going back to like J.R. Giddens, he goes to Kansas, Daniel Orton, guys like that they've just... Obi Manillo goes to Oklahoma State. 5 stars in the state... Just for some reason, it hasn't worked out. And I think once people started to get maybe a little confident in Oklahoma that, hey, we might actually get to keep, one of our favorite sons home, I think that really got people excited around here.
Well, and like I said, you look at the history of it. Hollis Price was a good recruit. He wasn't a McDonald's All-American, and he became one of the best players in college basketball. Got Oklahoma to a Final Four. It was really Blake Griffin that was the first person since Wayman Tisdale that was a nationally could have gone anywhere he wanted to go type of player, and now Trae Young is in that same mold.
Yeah, if you remember the year Daniel Orton was at McGinnis, he's a 5-star in-state, and Oklahoma couldn't barely get in the door with him. They had trouble getting him to listen to them, but they go into Texas.
It's Gay Biker's fault.
And they go into Texas, and they land Tiny Gallon and Tommy Mason Griffin, and they get their 5 stars and they're great players elsewhere. But I think it's, we all have, grown up in this area. When you grow up, playing football, OU is the destination, the big place to go. I want to go to OU one day. When you play basketball, those basketball players don't idolize OU as much as football players do. They wear, North Carolina.
Unless you were a ball boy and then, you watch Blake Griffin play for Oklahoma and you're now going to be working out in the Blake Griffin, training facility.
That's how important these things can be, these decisions can be. When someone says, well, is he even going to be better than Woodard? First of all, I think he will be better than Woodard, but think about the decision that Blake Griffin made and the ripple effect it has led to till now. If Blake Griffin doesn't come to OU when Trae Young's a ball boy watching OU play, if they're not going to the NCAA tournament or they don't have Blake Griffin, he probably doesn't have the same infatuation.
Or if Blake Griffin doesn't have the pro career that he's had.
Exactly. So all this stuff kind of compounds on each other and adds up, helping your program. And I think this is, and people are going to also, this is going to help Lon Kruger talk to people. If he calls Kayvon Moore tomorrow, who's a 5-star in the 2018 class, and says, hey, did you see who we just landed? We just landed Trae Young. Kayvon Moore's going to pick up the phone and talk to Lon Kruger now. It gives them some respect now in the college basketball world that they honestly just didn't have before.
Well, and I think that you can credit a lot of it to Buddy Hield too, and being able to see the way that he developed him into an NBA player, and just it's funny that there was so much that this thing kind of took on a life of its own, and thinking back to last year even. While OU was on their Final Four run throughout the NCAA tournament and stuff, when you went to practice to get sound or just to go out there, anytime that you were out there, there was I'd say a 65 to 70% chance Trae Young was out there at practice. And, I think a lot of people just thought it was because he was close to home. But at the same time, I mean, that relationship grew and grew and grew. And I think that, Buddy Hield is definitely somebody that he still talks to. He obviously still talks to a bunch of guys. You saw a picture of him and Kyrie Irving here last week when the Cavs were in town. So, OU can definitely parlay this into something big. And I think that, you already saw that Eric Bossy, one of the national recruiting analysts, said that 2018 Rivals 250 guard Jordan Lathan's going to, out of Grandview, Missouri, he's going to visit on the 25th of February. So, a lot of good things happening right now.
Okay, before we move on and talk a little bit about, there's been a bunch of new offers going out for football. We got Junior Days coming up, spring football coming up on the 21st. Josh, I want to get to some of that here. But first off, Joe, let's just kind of go through what it's been like for the last month. I mean, you always heard these little things flowing out. Like, I remember hearing this thing that just struck me as funny the other day about, Trae Young had this discussion with Kevin Durant before he made his decision, and that can't be good. Like, there's so many twists and turns and little rumors popping up, but I mean, what was it like for you kind of following this over the last month? And was there any real big turning point that you felt or you remembered?
It's been interesting, especially this last month. How long ago was that Rayford Young tweet? Was that 3 weeks ago that happened? 2 weeks ago?
Probably just over.
Well, he played Stillwater. That would have been.
It was the night
about a month.
Everything I had been hearing, even up until that point, was that Oklahoma had confidence, that they had put in this groundwork that no matter where he became infatuated with next on a visit to Kansas or if John Calipari came to town, that they had built this foundation. And to be honest, they really sold the family, the entire family, mom, the brothers. Trae said today that his little brother was the most excited out of everybody. They really honed in on that relationship. And so when Rayford Young tweets out that he didn't like the way a reporter talked about Norman North and Trae and how they played, and that's why his son can't play at OU, even me, who I put in the reporting, I was talking to people, and I believed Oklahoma to be in the lead, and I saw that and thought, oh, okay, well, I guess I was wrong. That's pretty plain. And I immediately at that point started checking around with sources, seeing what they had heard, and I was shocked. I almost wanted to hear back, oh, yeah, he's going to Kansas now. That way I don't look like a crazy person. But everybody I talked to said, no, Oklahoma's still going to get him. This is just kind of a posturing move by Ray. And so I've come back and report that then. I think ever since then, when that didn't deter the confidence OU had that they were going to land Young, I thought, man, there must be really something here for their confidence. And then I think it kind of snowballed after that.
And it was interesting because I would get people that would call me, I can't say who they are, and they would be like, what does Joe know? What does he know? What? Because you're hearing all this, ever since he said that, it seemed like all the mainstream media and even people at my radio station, all they talked about was it was going to be KU. And it was like you had to, I know what that's like. It's like you're chasing down all your sources, you're hearing this constantly over and over, yet there's this little person out there that keeps saying something different than what you're hearing, and you're like, am I crazy?
You're so right that you almost start questioning yourself.
It happens all the time on big stories.
You have that's probably what I talk to my wife about the most, and she's probably going to be so glad not to hear the name Trae Young again. But I was so I don't know what frustrated is the right word, but I guess I was confused because everything you learn to do the things that we do, I was checking sources, reporting, and going through all the things I was supposed to be doing, and I was just reporting what I was hearing and what I was looking at. And there are people around me saying 100% Kansas. And I'm talking to people who were telling me Oklahoma's leading. So maybe he might have ended up going to Kansas, but I knew at the time that 100% Kansas, that can't be true unless someone's just flat out lying to me. And also, he's an 18-year-old kid, so I'm hearing all these things. And to be honest, I felt pretty good about this a while ago, and I really felt strong about this week. But If he picks Kansas, if he pulls a he who shall not be named, as the scoop board will call him, Robert Meacham, and everybody thinks he's going to Oklahoma, and he kind of spurs me at the end, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm going to look stupid if that happened. So, yeah, that was concerning. But like I said, I just did what we're supposed to do. I talked to people, and I told you what I heard.
You really should have called me or Josh. We could have talked you off the ledge.
It wasn't really like a ledge. It was more of I'm a pessimist. I know the worst case scenario before it happens. I always plan for it. So I even though I was telling people I was 99% sure he called Oklahoma and committed yesterday, I still was kind of scared to run with it because he's an 18-year-old kid and everybody else is saying Kansas. And so I have to make sure I have all of my T's crossed and I's dotted.
Well, and Josh has been there too. I mean, you get that, and you just have to remind yourself. Look, I know what I'm doing. I've worked hard on this. I've checked with my sources are good, and then you just you tell yourself that other guy's an idiot and he doesn't know what he's doing.
I'm with you. That is one of those things. And Joe, I don't know about for you. One of my biggest things that I have to fight when I go through that kind of stuff is not calling my sources over and over and over again and being like, are you sure? Are you sure of what you've told? How confident are you? Because I'm with you. I get into that self-doubt and I'm like, everybody, am I just way off on this? I can tell you a perfect one. And Eddie was with me. We were going through it. The Joe Mixon thing. everybody in the world thought that kid was going to UCLA. And I'm like, man, that's not what I'm hearing. It doesn't sound right. And everybody I talked to was super confident and felt good about it. And so I went with it. And I think everybody thought, oh, he's just being a homer or something. And he picks OU. But at the same time, look at Jacob Phillips. I mean, you can't step out on the ledge repeatedly and not get burned. It'll happen sometimes. But I have been where you are. Enjoy this whole day. Drink yourself stupid tonight. Like you deserve. You've gone above and beyond. This has been awesome to watch you cover it.
All right, Joe. Yeah, fantastic job covering this thing. You led it all the way. You were with it all the way. And I think if it would have turned, you probably would have heard that it turned. So it's your first big one. You bagged your first big one.
You could see
Congratulations.
There's a picture of us at the presser today, or the commitment today. I was on my phone up until the second he announced, just waiting to hear something I didn't expect to hear, but never happened.
And the thing that was weird about this one was, like, I would tell my closest friends, like, yeah, I think it's going to be OU. I don't think there's anything to worry about. And they would constantly, the next day, so what's Trae Young going to do? I was like, I told you yesterday, it's OU.
Yep.
I just
The
think
next day, where's he going?
there's just that draw. I think that a lot of people, just looking at the face value of it, they see Oklahoma struggling this year.
Yeah.
You look at
It is
Kansas,
hard from the outside to put it all together. Why
you just got to peel
sense?
everything back, and everything makes a lot more sense if you do, I think.
Well, Eddie, you talked about earlier this week that Kansas-West Virginia game. Like, if you're looking at that from outside, you're thinking this is awful for OU.
Oh, yeah, and they make a 13-point comeback.
The thing about it, though, is I remember that my last Hoop Scoop I posted Monday, I thought I did as good a job as I could kind of going through the arguments of why, as best as I could without revealing everything, of why he's going to pick OU. His relationship with Lon Kruger, the fact that they've had this spot open for him, the offense they run, the fact that Kansas is going to have 3 guys that could possibly play the point next year, 2 of them 5 stars. So everything seemed to be pointing to OU, and I tried to articulate that as well as I could, and it didn't matter, and I don't blame OU fans either. I think a lot of that is you have a bad year on the court. They just lost Jacob Phillips in football. You just start to expect some bad things to happen, and we know OU fans. I think that's kind of a general attitude in general, where there's kind of this feeling of, all right, well, what bad thing's going to happen next? So I don't blame people for thinking it was going to be Kansas from the outside, but I did as best as I could to try to show you what was happening on the inside of what was going on.
All right, you did a fantastic job. I want to move on and talk a little bit about what's going on with the football team and recruiting right now. But, Josh, to start with you, I mean, a lot of new offers have been coming out. The staff, I know, saw a picture of them Skyping today. I can't remember who the recruit was. But kind of going all over the place and getting some offers out there. Kind of what are your initial impressions of what you've seen the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think the thing you notice is that Oklahoma, I mean, it's been everywhere. A defensive lineman in Chicago, some DBs out of the Southeast. There's been some new offers in Texas, Missouri. I mean, guys, we went to that St. Louis camp last year kind of on a lark, thinking we were going to see a couple of Oklahoma guys. We have to go this year. There's like 7 offers in St. Louis for Oklahoma. Like, I mean, it's crazy how many Missouri area guys, Kansas City, St. Louis, kind of the entire Missouri area.
Well, and why not
Oklahoma's
hit that area? I mean,
so that's been a huge story.
Why not hit that area with Missouri being down like they are? Arkansas has been down. I mean, it's been shown that those guys are kind of lost a little bit. They don't know what they're doing. I mean, the Big 12 footprint is gone from that part of the country. It's almost like that is probably one of the most wide open recruiting areas in the country right now.
I agree completely. I mean, I think you look at that. I think you look at a lot of the Pac-12 region just because it's kind of USC, and then who really steps into that vacuum is the obvious number 2.
Oregon down, UCLA down.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon's had their run. Washington's hot right now. Obviously Stanford had a great recruiting class, but Stanford can't just go into every school in the state of California and go recruit. They've got a lot of limitations. So that's why that's always been good to Oklahoma, in my opinion. But yeah, I think you just look all over, and I think Oklahoma is, just they're continuing the trend. I had someone ask me, is Oklahoma doing something new in 2018? No, this is what they've been doing for 3 or 4 years, and you saw it all kind of come to a head with the 2017 class where they got in early, they built relationships, and those kids were involved with OU from early on. In 2018, you're just seeing the same thing. Obviously going to have their second junior day this weekend. I thought the first one went pretty well, even though there were no commitments. I'm starting to hear some good talk of this weekend could go a little differently in that regard.
Am I just kind of that? I'm just in that mode. I guess I'm just too cynical, but I just keep thinking about like the 2019 class, like the fact that Cameron Rising is the quarterback in that class. 18. And I'm thinking like, what are the chances Lincoln Riley is here another year? And what are the chances that kind of sticks? I mean, you see Cameron kind of tweeting out still when he gets new offers and things like that. I don't know. I wonder how that dynamic holds up when you start talking about receivers and quarterbacks, because I think this is the year they're going to have to battle that more than they did this last year.
I think you're dead on, but I think there are two things to think about. A, OU's aware of it, and he said he's aware of it. I mean, Cameron acknowledged it. It's not like he's, OU shielding him from it. They're very aware of it. It's why Bob has been more active in his recruitment. You're seeing other guys on the staff, Cale Gundy's very active, so that he's talking to more than just Lincoln Riley. Now, obviously, Lincoln is a big part of his decision, a big part of why he chose Oklahoma. But the other thing to remember that's really interesting, and Lincoln Riley talked about it with you guys on signing day, quarterbacks decide so early. So by December, when Lincoln, let's just say Lincoln Riley does take another job, he'll take that job in late November at earliest, probably into December. So you've got that going on. And by that point in time, any program that Cameron Rising is going to feel like, well, that's a good option for me, that's probably equivalent to Oklahoma, without their offensive coordinator, they're going to have their quarterback position locked away for 6 months by that point in time. So they're not going to have a spot. Texas isn't going to have a spot. USC has already got their quarterback. Washington, you go down that list, there's not going to be a spot at a major program for him to go to. So either he's going to have to take a step down or continue on with the relationships that Oklahoma is trying to build right now. So I think, don't get me wrong, it's not impossible, but it's just one of those things where if it was a receiver, that something could definitely go wrong there. But at quarterback, these guys just decide so early because they know they're kind of the table setter for the whole class that it ends up December. There's not a lot of places to move.
It can't hurt to have Bray Walker already in the fold at left tackle. That has to make a quarterback feel good to know that you have a borderline 5-star left tackle there to protect you once you get to Oklahoma. And by the way, starting a class with that level of a quarterback and that level of a left tackle, that's a good way. That's a good foundation to build a class from right there. I don't know if you can pick two better positions on offense to really start building your class.
That was my thought. I mean, if you're going to build a class, especially in the Big 12, where the heck else would you want to start, man? I mean, quarterback and left tackle, you build everything out from there. And again, it's not like you're doing it without a foundation already there. I mean, and you talked about, he's got Bray Walker. Yeah, he's also got Marquise Hayes and Tyrese Robinson and Adrian Ely and, Creed Humphrey from the year before, not to mention a young offensive line that will be there his first year on campus, at least in about 80% of its entirety. So, I mean, there is a lot to sell Cameron Rising on, even without Lincoln Riley, and that's what Oklahoma can bank on at the moment.
And isn't this kind of your year where you're really set up if you're Oklahoma? This is where I know they've already offered the number one all-purpose guy, but this is where you set yourself up to go get an Adrian Peterson, a DeMarco Murray, a Joe Mixon, isn't it? It's perfect for that time.
Exactly. This is where you try to hit that home run. Because, I mean, people say, Ohio State or Georgia or whatever, they recruit a top, 5 running back every year. Oklahoma doesn't live in that world. Because Texas doesn't produce running backs like it used to because all the guys are playing receiver or kind of dual threat quarterbacks or whatever. So it's not like it used to be at running back in Texas. So you can go out and try to get TJ Pledger. I mean, Trey Sermon and Marcellus Sutton and Kennedy Brooks, those are good players. They're not going to scare anybody off. TJ Pledger is not afraid, I don't know how I'm going to get on the field with those guys there. They're good players, but he knows he can play with them. If Adrian Peterson's sitting there, that's a tougher sell. Everybody knows that guy. Everybody knows he's big time. If you get Pledger next year, you may have to work around him a little bit because people are going to know who he is. So, this is the year to hit home runs at, really at inside linebacker, running back, defensive line. I mean, you don't have anybody there that you can say, I just don't know if the playing time's there for you. You come in and you're good enough, dude, you're going to play.
Just to clarify, I would guess TJ Pledger is that guy in 2018.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. I will say that I know, talking to some people, OU likes the Lynn J. Dixon kid. It's a 3-star in Rivals, but he's got, Alabama, Clemson. He's got some major offers. They like him a lot. I know that they like the Lorenzo Lingard kid that just committed to Miami quite a bit as well, but I think Miami was always going to be really tough to beat for him. To me, Pledger is where your focus is, and then maybe a regional guy like Keontae Ingram, who's going to be in this weekend. The kid from East Texas, it's a really, really good player. But if you could get any combination that includes TJ Pledger and, like I said, any combination, Eddie Radosevich could be part of the class. And if Pledger's part of it, the running back group's going to be a success.
Well, it'd be really, really damn good if Eddie Radosevich was in it.
Well, I don't know that everybody knows that the nickname at Putnam North for Mr. Radosevich was Fast Eddie. So, let's be clear about that.
I'll just say this. I had a nickname, Sam Bradford didn't. So we'll leave it at that.
Whose career panned out better?
I'd say mine right now.
Who's on the podcast?
I say Eddie's going to be in the Sports Broadcasting Hall of Fame. I don't know if Sam's going to have a Hall of Fame career.
Watch your mouth.
Now,
see, it's his guy, Joe. You can't say that. He can say it. You can't say it.
All right.
So what's gonna be interesting is, I don't know how much is going to be available to show for this junior day. The lockers are obviously, we've seen those a little bit. But the coaches are still in there. I saw them Skyping in their good old trusty offices today.
I got a
kill
huge
myself.
kick out of that.
I would want to kill myself by now if I'd been living in those trailers for this long.
I did not realize they were. I mean, I knew they were bad, but just seeing that picture this morning,
I guess that's
made me
in the
chuckle.
Bud, but
is that where that was?
Yeah, that's the conference room in the Bud.
Anytime you have,
which also doubles as Lincoln Riley's office.
Yeah, because you went in those offices, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've been in there yet.
Looks like a 70s den or something with the wood paneling. Like I can imagine a guy sitting down
It's
there.
It's not as bad as it looks on that Skype.
I think so.
Photo.
That looks like plywood paneling.
It's not, you would get sick of it by now. I mean, it's not good. But they got to be.
Bob's office is nice in there.
But everything else has been a rendering so far. I think the locker rooms are about the closest thing, and then the weight rooms are getting there. But I don't think like the offices and stuff and the trophy rooms and that's not going to be ready yet.
No, because they're still working on the very, very front part. I think they'll get they should have the locker rooms and I would think the weight room done by June 1 so they can move in.
Well, you know what? I asked around. I said, is moving the start of spring to March 21st, is that an indication that, they're waiting to get the locker rooms done? I was told that not really, but that could be something that they're looking at a little bit.
So not really, but it kind of goes along with what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'd like to. I don't get the sense that they're really, and I don't drive by there as much like I usually do when it's during the season. But I never, when they started working again after they got the south end zone finished, I never got the sense that there was much of a hurry to do things. Like it was almost like they would get so much crap done so fast. And now it's back to kind of just regular pace, and the crews aren't just overwhelming. And I guess it's probably just because they don't have a rush timeline to get it done this time of year.
Talk about getting stuff into place. They already have gates around the south end of the Lloyd Noble Center. Like they're going to start construction on the Blake Griffin thing.
Wow.
ASAP. In fact, I was talking to somebody the other day at practice, and they said that I think the media, everybody goes through the south entrance now. I think we have a different one starting next week because they have everything already being moved.
That
in.
ramp there is going to be gone.
Yeah.
Wow.
That the facilities they have for their practice facilities and things like that are top of the line. They can bring kids in and show them that stuff, and they're fine. The Lloyd Noble Center, they have to fix that thing. There's no way that can stay the way it is for this.
They put together a master plan, but when they realized that they could not even do the west side stands, the whole basketball renovation got tabled. I mean, that's something they want to do, and they want to work. And there are plans. They're not releasing them because they're not for the public to see. They're just for study purposes right now. But Yeah, I mean, I've talked to Joe C about this. I mean, they want to do something with, the upper concourse. They want to make it more like a standard, a more modern arena, but it's going to take a lot of work to do it, and they just can't commit to that right now, knowing that they can't even do the west side yet.
Of football.
Yeah, the football stadium. Yeah.
The thing that they could just do is they just need to go in, and because the building is okay, it's just the way that everything's set up. They need to do something to where
so spread out.
Yeah, spread out, and everything's just.
It's a multi-use.
Yeah, it's a bad
facility.
basketball arena.
Yeah.
You could go to. I mean, you go to. And it's a big comparison, like Fog Allen. You go to Gallagher Eye, but those fans are right on top of you, and there's
Gallagher Eye was kind of scary. It's so steep.
Yeah, but that's great for an environment. And in Lloyd Noble, you're 20 feet away from the floor, and then it immediately spreads out. It doesn't go kind of up; it goes out and back. And it's this 70s arena. It's kind of cold and concrete, and I don't know. You can say what you will about fans not showing up and stuff, but they have done little to make that place an enticing place to come. Also, stick the students where the camera can see them. If you're going to have empty seats at midcourt, stick the students there. Why tuck them up behind the basket? It makes no sense to me. You're not making that much money off of those prime floor seats.
It's like deja vu, man.
We've always tried to.
Josh and I have heard these same things.
Yeah.
Since we were in school.
It's the same thing every year.
It's an age-old argument about Lloyd Noble.
I'm gonna toss my argument onto the pile.
Sonny, you didn't just reinvent the argument.
I'm bringing it up again. I'm raising the social consciousness about the Lloyd Noble Center.
There were hippies long before you. Okay, so Junior Day, kind of back to that thing. I mean, obviously, and it was kind of interesting because they've in these plans that they have coming forward, and we've talked about this a lot, just about Oklahoma putting to the forefront winning championships and trophies, and they're going to have, kind of like their trophy lobby or whatever is now going to be where all the Big 12 trophies, and then they're ordering maybe they had this in the old Switzer Center. I never went in there, so I don't know recently, but they're going to order all 7 of the crystal footballs now for the 7 national championship. So they'll all be sitting out where people can touch it and recruits can get pictures with it and stuff like that. But it's obvious they'll probably set stuff up in the Kerr McGee or the Chesapeake Lounge like it was last year, where they put the tables out with all the trophies they've ever won on it, and that's how they broke the Big 12 trophy last time. But Josh, I mean that seems to be, kind of what we're in for once again, is kind of running things like they did a year ago, right?
Yeah, I think that's what they're going to be left with, and I think when I talk to people about the first Junior Day, like more than ever, I heard the kids talking about, man, the facilities, what they're going to be doing is amazing. Because, like, it's not just, like an idea. It's not just something, oh, here it is on paper. They can start to see it. We all saw the thing that Sooner Sports put out, just here is the lockers and all this. You kind of mentioned that earlier. But now you get to see a better, more clear, idea of what it's going to be and just how massive it is. That's the thing that, when they were showing the tour, I kept expecting to see like, oh, there's that thing I've kind of seen before, and they're going to walk past it to get to this other thing. It's also isolated. It's huge. I don't think I had it in my head how big the scale of this thing is going to be.
Yeah, and that's, like Schmitty giving the tour about this is where we work out, this is where we do our 40s and our shuttles and stuff like. He can take them through that process. And now, a year ago at this time, you couldn't see all that stuff. Now you can, because it was just, like you said, a skeleton. I mean, Eddie, this year, at this time last year, they were just starting in on the corners, weren't they? Like it was just steel and beams and things. Or
I actually was looking back for the teaser that we did when they announced the start of spring football, and I look back at the day that we were able to go into the stadium and shoot video of the team practicing, and so that would have been about a year from now.
And that was like they had half of the.
It was just
half of the steps on like one of the corners.
Yeah, it was just the skeleton almost of the south end zone. I mean,
so now they actually have roofs over their heads. They got outside facade. They can see where the practice fields are going to be. They can see where the weight room is going to be. The lockers are already in there.
I'm still not convinced, I guess, that they have room for a practice field, but that's probably just me being pessimistic. I guess they're going to still put it over there in the south. My only 2 questions.
They'll have one full field.
The field over in the southeast corner.
It'll be that one, the far
or southwest,
far western part of the practice facility.
And then I guess my other question is: are they going to take down the wrought iron fence around the south?
I don't think so.
Around Lindsay, they're going to keep that up.
I think so.
Kind of looks trashy in my opinion, but whatever. Not that big of a deal.
I don't know. Maybe they'll do something different once the stadium's.
I guess it'd just be more like inviting.
I mean, all it is in there right now is just dirt and trucks.
Yeah. I guess I just feel like it's a very small area.
That looks small with just dirt and trucks, though.
Yeah.
So. But no, I mean, yeah, it'll definitely be better for them. They won't. And it was funny because I remember Bob talking about, or maybe it was Lincoln. Somebody had not really known kind of what they were doing. They were talking about doing the barbecue and stuff last year, and I would imagine that over the summer that stuff will kind of continue, wouldn't you, Josh?
What was that? Sorry, I zoned out into a moment of Little Nicky, so I don't know how to explain that one other than that.
Good flick.
Just the thing. I mean, I could see them maybe coming up with some new things this year, but probably sticking with like the barbecue and stuff like they did a year ago.
Yeah, I think that was such a success. You've got to consider, doing that again. But I'm with you. Like, that's something a lot of schools do. And I think where Oklahoma will start to succeed is when they start to do more things, where they're just coming up with things on their own. They're creating a new idea and doing something totally different. But with that barbecue, you kind of have laid the foundation. We can do things like this. We know how to kind of run them, how to operate it, what's inbounds, what isn't, so they can do all of those things. But yeah, I've always been a big fan of them trying to turn their camp into like, an elite one-day thing. Like USC has the Rising Stars, and, Urban Meyer always says the Friday Night Lights thing, something like that, to where you're turning coming into your camp and working out for the coaches into a big deal.
Yeah, I've actually brought that up to Bob several times about the Friday Night Lights deal. Tech does the thing where they go to like different towns and things like Midland and stuff like that.
I think playing at their spring game at the Star is genius.
It's pretty good. You couldn't get away with that with OU though.
Too many people.
It only seats 14,000, I think, or 12,000.
Yeah, you'd have half of DFW there.
You'd have to do it at Jerry World,
which would be awesome.
That would be stupid.
It would be the most overhyped, overblown thing ever. But there'd be a lot.
Trust me, I'm sure after selling all these new suites and things that they have to have the spring game at their stadium so they can promise the people that they can go hang out in their suites.
Yeah, I guess this would be the first year that they can actually do that.
But Eddie, look at your guy Harbaugh. You said you overhyped or whatever.
Yeah.
That he's bit into the fact that it doesn't really matter if it's real. It matters that the kids like it. Like him climbing up in the tree and playing with the kid, or jumping into the pool and
that's
his clothes
very
and
Michael
stuff
Jackson-esque.
Yeah, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, it's dumb, like, and it is what it is. But the kids respond to it because it makes them like, oh, I'm a big deal. Like, it makes every kid feel like they're a big deal.
What you brought Harbaugh up? What do you think about him hiring highly ranked players' dads?
Until there's a rule again. I mean, it's one of those things. Like, I get that, like, morally it's not all that strong, but my moral compass has never been that strong. So, like, I'm not going to judge him for it. Like, I get why people get up in arms about it, but this has been going on forever. I mean, go back to Danny Manning. Like, I mean, you can go back forever and ever to coaches ending up on staffs that, suddenly, oh, yeah, and he coached or is the stepfather or uncle or, that has some direct connection to a major recruit. Happens all the time. And it's just, like, do I love it? No, it's shady, but if you wanted to do something about it, put a rule in about it. It's not that hard to block.
The basketball's number one player in the country, Michael Porter, Trae Young's AAU teammate, is committed to Washington, and his dad just got hired by Lorenzo Romar as an assistant coach. I mean, that's
it's a coincidence. Come on, Joe. That's total coincidence.
Well, the thing about Harbaugh's thing is they've got a rule in place ready to block this stuff, but because he's hiring his dad 2 years before his son graduates high school, it would still usurp the rule they're trying to put in.
And, I guess that's fine. I mean, if the dad wants to believe he's getting the job on his own merit, okay,
well, the
fine.
dad has a connection. He coached Jim Harbaugh
Yeah.
I think when he was
just not
in
a
high
nobody.
School, yeah, he's not.
No. Yeah, like I mean, don't get me wrong. Like Harbaugh's not going to hire somebody like he's not going to hire me to come be his quarterback's coach or something. But like, I understand that. But at the same time, like if you tell Jim you can hire anybody in the country or you can hire this kid's dad, he's not going to hire that kid's dad if that kid is 5'8" and 150 pounds.
How close was How close was OU to offering Jim Jeffcoat when Jackson Jeffcoat wasn't that kind of rumored at the time that Jim Jeffcoat could come join the Sooner staff when Jackson was being recruited?
That was going around. And Kerry, what was the deal with that? Wasn't was that when Jackie was let go?
Yeah, he was a candidate to replace Jackie, and
yeah,
it got really awkward though because I think he and Jackie are like really tight, and there was no way that Jim was going to replace Jackie after getting fired, basically. So it just be kind of remember his sister was playing basketball at OU already.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah, and I the funny thing is I never had much contact with Jackson directly. I always dealt with Jim. And so when that kind of converged, I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do right. I mean, it was such a weird and awkward situation because, like, I knew he didn't want to talk to me because he thought I was going to lead into a question about him. And I really was going to try to keep it above board. But, certainly if he wanted to tell me he was, interviewing with OU the next day, that would have been fine.
Yeah, it never really developed. It was just kind of dangled there.
If you have a worthy enough coach and you're trying to make a decision on who to hire, the guy with the kid who's a 5-star is not a bad way to make a decision, right?
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, but eventually you just got another Bruce Kittles on your hand.
Yeah, but his son went to Iowa. It's not this. I mean, George.
No, but I'm saying is still getting a coach at Oklahoma for one kid doesn't make any sense.
Oh, that's
to
true.
me.
But I'm saying if Jim Jeffcoat's reliable enough, I mean that would have been.
No, he's a quality coach, but I think he's retired now.
He's at Colorado.
Is he at Colorado?
He's a defensive line coach, I think.
That's right. That is right. I think I stumbled upon that when I was looking at the Caleb on Shoshone stuff there towards signing day.
Josh, Colorado kind of reminded me of this, I guess, Big 12 North stuff. What is going on with Kansas in 2018 in football? What is up with their class right now?
They have tapped into a kind of like we were just talking about with Missouri. There's a vacuum in New Orleans right now because a bunch of New Orleans coaches, I know you guys know because we all talked about the story, are pissed off with LSU and their handling of a former assistant. And to me,
who ended up at Texas Tech, right?
Yeah, and it's one of those things where he's kind of got this reputation as a big-time New Orleans recruiter, but you look at what he brought in for LSU last year, and you're like, I don't know what that's about. Like, I don't know what I'm excited about here because it's a bunch of guys that LSU should be landing, and then a bunch of guys left Louisiana that you don't need. At LSU, you don't want those guys leaving, and a lot of them went to Alabama, so it only kind of throws fuel on the fire. But what basically has happened is they hired Kansas, that is, hired Tony Hull, who was the former coach at Warren Easton, the high school that produced Arthur McGinnis and one-time commitment Pernell Jefferson. So, I mean, there's some OU connection there. They hired him as a running backs coach, and he is so respected and liked and well-connected in New Orleans that I honestly think it's a ploy. I think a lot of people, I think it was A, to kind of stick it to LSU a little bit, and B, it helps out one of their own. The coaches, the high school coaches down there can say, hey, give him a commitment. It gives Kansas some pub. It makes Tony look good. And at the same time, we all know you're not going to Kansas. 'Cause, I mean, I would bet my bottom dollar that there is no 4-star kid or higher that signs with Kansas from the state of Louisiana this year. Like, even with all this on the board, I don't buy it for a minute.
You're saying when it's all said and done,
too obvious.
You think
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Down the road, next signing day, I won't buy that for a minute. So, I mean, we'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I think it's just Kansas really taking advantage of a good situation and smart for them to do it. Like, right. Hey, guys, you're going to commit. We kind of know the deal here. We know it's going to be hard to keep you. But we can get a lot of good press out of that, maybe get some other kids that we do have a shot at interested, and kind of play it that way. So now, I don't think it's that subversive or anything like that, but I think that's probably the inner workings, kind of what's going on, I guess in their mind's eye.
Yeah, and then if they blow 2 ACLs tomorrow, Kansas can say, well, we have a spot for you. We'll take it.
Exactly.
We have no problem waiting.
Yeah, they could amputate Devontae Jason's legs and Kansas would take him. So that kid's special.
So in other words, Josh is calling these alternative commitments.
Oh no! See, band. I need the band noise. Where's my band noise?
You couldn't hear it even if I had one.
Damn it!
If we just all started talking politics, there's nothing Josh could do.
So true.
He's 8 hours away.
Fake news.
Damn it!
All right. It's the off season, and there's not a whole lot out there. I do expect to kind of be getting more into spring football stuff, and now that next week I'm taking off from radio, so you'll see a little bit more of me doing some stuff around the site. But let me just ask you, Josh, I don't know where you are in your fandom these days, if you have just gone full-on Harden, or if you got... Did you get wrapped up at all in the Warriors-Thunder game?
And what's funny is...
Do you even care anymore about us?
I watched it and I kept trying. Like every time they'd get down by like 20, I'm like, God, I can't watch it anymore. And then Eddie would tweet something. I'm like, oh damn it, I got to go back, and I'd watch it again for a little while. But I missed the best part. I missed the whole KD Russell argument. That's what killed me.
Loser.
I know.
I will admit, I tried to quit, and then I felt so guilty I had to turn it back. And I was just fortunate that they didn't get down by 40, because I really would have just turned it off and gone to bed. But that was glorious, that KD and Russ fight.
If you just put like a piece of tape over the score bug on your TV and just watch that for the basketball, that was so worth all 4 quarters, despite whatever the hell the score said. Just those two guys playing basketball was just so much effing fun to watch. I don't care that the Thunder lost by 20, 30. That was fun.
Eddie still seems to be disgusted by it all.
Oh, very much. I watch every, I've told a lot of people this in the last couple of weeks, and they laugh when I say it, thinking I'm joking, but every night before I go to bed, I pray that Kevin Durant has a career-ending injury.
Oh my God.
That doesn't surprise me.
Like, I watch the games because I want to be there. I want to be watching when he pops his knee.
You watch Golden State games just for that?
Yeah. I want to be watching when his career goes down in flames. I hate that son of a bitch.
I mean, you can recover from a torn ACL.
No, I want him to pop his Achilles. I want somebody to actually cut his Achilles.
Eddie wants it like Teddy Bridgewater. Is what he's wanting. Yeah.
But I want him to die.
Would you rather have that or him just... What if he just started playing
from
bad?
A torn LCL, ACL, and PCL?
Whatever. I hate him.
Like maybe his artery gets severed in the process.
I think he's the softest person in the world. My softest people ranking right now, Kevin Durant 1, Tim Kawakami 2, and...
That's what I wanted to bring up.
Somebody
Eddie
else
got
3.
Banned from the Bay Area.
Probably the guy that runs Tulsa's Twitter account.
The Barry Tramel of the Bay Area banned Eddie. Was it even before the game
He blocked
started?
me before the game.
Because you took issue with one of his articles.
Yeah, because he wrote an article.
It was a stupid article.
Dumb article.
It was.
And I didn't even tweet him. I just retweeted it and said, confirmed.
You quote tweeted.
Yeah, I quoted it, and I said, confirmed, Tim Kawakami's 1 trillion% soft. And then he blocked me and said something to the effect of, it looks like I won't be invited to the next videographers conference. And somebody else was like, oh, man. And then I tweeted him back again, and I said, you are soft.
Oh, man. And then he blocked you.
Yeah, and then he blocked me. But, yeah.
Are you guys big blockers?
No.
I don't block hardly anyone. I think I have like 3 or 4 people at most.
I block fake accounts from that are done by people that just do it to antagonize. Like, it's always like a fake personality from I would say competing, but another radio station. Like those, I can tell. Anytime I see a fake Jim Traber or a fake radio host at another station, I can just tell it's someone without a sense of humor that thinks they're funny, and they're either just mean or stupid, or they're just assholes.
Yeah, and they're not. If you're going to run a fake account, you got to be funny. You got to take
witty
jabs at people.
Yeah,
but
they're not witty. They're not funny. They're
No.
just mean-spirited assholes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they think they're funny, which is always the worst. It's just this mean, nastiness, negativity. It's like, all right, well, that's fine. I don't care.
And all you have to do is look at their timeline, and it's just them responding to other people. They're never tweeting themselves about anything. All they do is they troll. They go to other people and respond to them and say horrible things.
How do you decide who to say something back to? Because, I mean, if someone says something horrible to you, you check and they have like 2 followers, you don't want to give them attention.
You have to have some type of intelligence, wit, or to be funny in some way for me to get into it with you. Like if I could tell that you're just there to be a troll, I'm not wasting my time with you.
No. I won't block anybody. I'll mute a lot of people just so they don't come up in my timeline. I'm not going to give them the time of day to block them, though.
See, I don't do any, like, I will argue with any, as you guys have been the victim of following too many times, like, shut up, Josh, we're reading all of this. So I argue with everyone. But the thing I will, like, kind of what you guys are talking about, I can never decide if I hate Faux Pelini or if I like him, because I think he's hilarious. But I hate him because now everybody tries to do that thing and they can't pull it off like he does.
I like Faux Dan Beebe.
It's kind of like a recruiting website.
Faux Dan Beebe was funny.
Does Big 12 refs count? I like Big 12 refs.
Big 12 refs is really good.
Have you guys ever read Glasses Refs? He's like supposed to be like the Pac-12 ref.
No, I haven't seen this guy.
Ryan Abraham retweets him all the time. He's really funny.
It's possible. I just think it's the good ones are always the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of crap underneath the good ones.
Absolutely. I mean, and I'll read any. Like, I usually will follow if you get one, and then I'm kind of like, oh, no, that's not funny, and then I'll unfollow pretty quickly. So, but not big on the block. Like, you're welcome to talk to me, and I'm probably going to make fun of you if you continue to say stupid stuff. So,
I get nervous to talking to people or fighting with people, which doesn't happen very often. I'm pretty happy-go-lucky. But if it does happen, I never trust myself that people won't take me as like being condescending or that kind of stuff, and it just never ends up well.
I sometimes just have to be a condescending smartass. Like
sometimes
the other day,
every once in a while.
The other day, for no reason, I don't know why I keep following Craig Smoke. He's kind of like the Baylor Homer radio guy. And then there's this other girl who I just started following a bunch. I follow people all over the conference. I just do. I mean, sometimes I have interesting things. And there's this one girl at a TV station there in Waco, I guess. I don't know. Does Waco have TV stations? But like Craig Smoke someone had been hired from a high school, or it was a high school hiring, and it was like a SID position or something. And Craig Smoke tweeted it out, and then the girl followed it up by quote tweeting and said, "No surprise here, blah 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 blah." And I couldn't help myself. I had to say, I love it when reporters crap on each other. And she was like, "Oh, I know. I was pointing out that it wasn't surprise." And then I just responded, "I know." And that's all. I don't know if she blocked me, but I do find that I don't like the pettiness sometimes between reporters because I get involved in that. But if you know something's getting ready to happen and you're on top of it, and somebody else kind of officially breaks it, you just live with it. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to be petty and say, "Well, that's not a surprise to anyone who's been following it."
I'd love the pettiness, but I don't like that type of pettiness, I guess is the best way to put it. Like, I love getting into it with Catch.
Actually, God. I probably would like to see that if it was between Texas reporters, but people in Waco don't deserve my time.
No. That's just it's a sad state of affairs down there. It's a pathetic university.
Actually, they did something pretty cool, which is the regents want to make their meetings, their agenda open to the public. When they have Board of Regents meetings, even though they're a private university, they don't have to do that at all. But they want to do like OU does, which I think is very cool.
They should.
They want their money back.
Welcome to
They're
public
25%.
They're losing money, and they want to get it back up. I bet you're right.
Yeah, it's better when the public can have oversight.
So anyway, any other, I don't know, areas of interest recruiting wise you want to hit on before we get out of here, Josh?
No, like I said, I mean, I don't want to put too much out there. I'm definitely getting a very strong impression this will be a newsworthy weekend.
You are getting the impression this will be a newsworthy weekend?
Like I said, I've just, and it's actually kind of happened during this podcast. I've been checking on some things.
Oh, that's where you were.
And so that's been some of the excuses. Early while you guys were talking Trae Young, and there's not even almost. There's absolutely no need for me in that conversation. I was digging up some stuff, and it sounds like this could be a pretty good weekend for OU.
In state, is that a possibility? I mean, I know they have Patrick Fields coming in already with an offer, Jalen Redmond coming in with an offer. Are those guys the ones to be watching out for?
I wouldn't. Patrick Fields has been one of those guys that I've kind of been thinking something was cooking for a while, and
Mike Stoops loves that dude.
Because he talked, and Joe, I know you've talked to him a lot too. Like he's always talked about, how much his family likes OU, and he's really got a good relationship there. And OU, I mean, we can talk about at times when OU used to kind of drag their feet in state. They were right there early for Patrick Fields before a lot of people knew about him. So I mean, I don't think that's got to be a concern there. He's not the one I'm hearing about right now, and actually, to be fully honest, I'm hearing about more than one. So. I think that's good. I think there is some planning going on. So, like I said, the scoop will cover more of it tomorrow. I don't want to give too much of it away, but like I said, I think all things going to plan Sunday will have some good news.
By the way, here's one thing I'll throw at you, Josh. Get this from a few people recently. I think there were some rumors maybe about Casey Thompson at IMG, but like. You see IMG kind of starting to creep into Oklahoma a little bit.
I have not heard IMG from anybody. I mean, anybody. And that's now part of that is like you said. I mean, there's IMG's going, like, they're first off the list with the 5-star guys. I mean, they want to add those dudes. And there's just not that many of those guys year to year in Oklahoma. So I think that's part of it. But no, I haven't heard Casey's name come up at all. And Kerry, I know you know him well too. Knowing Charles like I do, I could understand that being a fit. Like him just, okay, you've learned all you can here. Obviously, Southmore lost their offensive coordinator, who Casey has a great relationship with.
Jeff.
So
Brickman,
with Jeff Brickman, a guy we know really well. So I mean, there's a lot of things that would make sense about that, but I won't pretend that I had heard this. I will say, it's kind of a funny aside. Casey actually messaged me a few nights ago about the Trae Young situation. I mean, so this is something, and I don't know that we've talked about it much. I thought it was interesting how many OU football players and coaches, they were all in on the Trae Young stuff. So I thought that was really interesting, and it wasn't just a basketball thing. I mean, Casey was very interested in what was going on with Trae, and obviously, like a lot of guys in that area, Southmore and Norman North, they know each other really well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I didn't see some kids from other schools there today.
Well, I know that.
Not like athletes, but just maybe kids that came down that knew Trae or something.
I know I probably should know her name, but I don't pay attention to women's basketball. The girl that's committed to OU from Choctaw, she was there. I know her and Trae are really tight.
Oh, okay.
Ilanusa or something.
Yeah. I know I recognized her at the thing, and it was a really big damn deal.
You could
today.
tell every kid at that school just loves him. I mean, the screams that came out when he announced. I mean, I could see that being the case.
Bob Stoops gave him a boom tweet.
Yeah,
I believe,
he's a big deal.
That, by the way, have you guys been to your old high school in a while? Because that was not fun. There was no like, oh, I'm back. It was like PTSD. Being back at your old high school. I didn't enjoy that.
I don't think there's anything at my high school that's like it was when I was there. It's changed so much.
Mine's very, very different. The last time I was there was like a decade ago, though. It's been a long time now. And I'll take that back, Eddie. We were there that day a couple years ago for spring practice.
Oh, for Nick Robinson and all those guys?
When Nick Robinson was a basketball player with a boot on his foot, nobody really knew who the hell he was.
Mm-hmm. That was that just last spring, or was that 2 springs ago?
2 springs ago. That would have been going into their junior year. Trey Gooch and Nick and Potts' junior year.
By the way, it was kind of weird. Like Norman North, we walked by the trophy case. It's kind of such a new school. Who is the number one Norman North athletic product?
Jordan Evans?
For football, Jordan Evans. But I'm going to mess up his name now. I think his name's Dominic Sylvie. Played soccer. Back in the he played for Celtic FC as a goalie. Soccer was kind of their thing for a long time. But I mean, now it's Trae
Corby
Young.
Thompson, maybe.
Now it's Trae Young.
I'm just kidding. It's my buddies.
I know him.
So but the PC North, it's got to be full of Sam Bradford stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, Deji Kareem had a really good career in Division II. What's his name? Alvin Adams went to Putnam City, so definitely not North. Yeah. I'm trying to think of anybody from. Joey Nation played for the Cubs. I think he pitched a little bit. He went to PC though. His brother played football when I was a freshman. Matt Nation.
Yep.
He was probably about your age, wasn't he, Josh?
Yeah, he was. I grew up a little bit around Matt.
I'm trying to think. I would definitely say that it was Sam or Deji, or I'm trying to think of any basketball players that came out of there, but I can't. Nobody off the top of my. Brandon Bruner had a pretty good career, I think, at Southern Illinois.
Mm-hmm. He was a good player. Who was the quarterback in 01? Eddie, that had a huge year and almost beat Jinx.
Matt Warren. He walked on at OSU for a year.
Yeah, I remember that kid.
Yep. I mean, he really just had that 1 year where it was really great, but
he had a really
that was kind of like when the spread was starting to go crazy in Oklahoma high school football.
Yeah.
Nobody was ready for him. And same deal a few years later with Matt Edmonds at Mustang, like the 5'7" wrestler that nobody could deal with.
That kid was a baller.
Yeah, he was a really good player. At West, it would have to be like Ricky Brady or Ben Roots.
What's the kid's name? What's the pitcher's name?
Brian Tallett had a really nice career solid career in the majors for a while there.
He had a cup of coffee at least.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Why am I forgetting where Xavier went to school?
He went to PC.
PC.
Okay.
Same with CJ Henry. Yep.
CJ Henry. He was probably the best athlete
I played against
in
him.
my grade. Yeah. He was unbelievable. I remember in like 8th grade watching him. We were in the same grade, and he would just pull up like.
But he never did anything but baseball, right?
He did.
Yeah,
he was a first round pick
by the Yankees. Shortstop, I think 17th overall, and I think he was actually part of the trade for somebody. Maybe Teixeira.
That's right.
Mark Teixeira.
You know who would have one of the most ridiculous trophy cases? And not so much lately, but in the 80s and 90s, can you imagine like Midwest City's trophy case?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Midwest City.
The
Gundys, and then, I mean, that Midwest City basketball team that had Sheldon Williams, D'Angelo Alexander, that group of guys that ended up all getting suspended after going out to Virginia, that was probably the best high school team I've ever seen.
And didn't they have a third guy that was D1?
Matt
like
Kemp?
a Gaddis or somebody like that?
Kemp was on it, and then, they did have a third guy that was D1.
I mean, like Oral Roberts kind of guy, like not like the other two, but still a really good player.
Well, there was I'm not thinking basketball. When I was coming up, there was a kid named Drew Chrisman that played baseball at OU that was really good.
From Midwest City?
Yeah.
Friggin' Vernon Maxwell.
Rodney
Probably
Rideau.
the best athlete that program ever produced. It was just a washout.
Him and Rodney Rideau were on that same team. They actually beat Putnam City North in '95. They were the last.
They were the last West
Side team. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
AJ Hinch played at Midwest City. Played baseball at Midwest City.
Did he?
With Brian Ayler, who ended up playing at OSU and coaches at Norman North.
Brian Ayler was at West when I was in high school.
Was he really?
Yeah, he was a baseball coach over there. Yeah, he was a good guy. He wasn't the head guy. The
Hinch
head guy
played when I played.
A less than stellar dude.
Yeah. Oh, what's his name? LaValle? Was he the head guy there? I shouldn't have said his name.
LaValle was there my freshman and sophomore year, I think, and then he went to take a head job. God, I can't remember now. Like somewhere like kind of small, and then I think he was only there for a year or two, and then he went somewhere bigger.
Well, we got Quinn Grovey at Duncan. That's all I know. Adam Dorian didn't do jack squat.
What about
Duncan always has some dudes, but it hasn't panned out well for them in recent years.
Dylan Dismuke does not count. I think he's
Dominique Pettis.
Yeah.
Duncan, I feel like they have good programs growing up in Little League and high school and stuff like that. I'm kind of shocked they aren't better at sports than they are.
Well, look at our very own. I mean, the guy just, carried.
Dude, we went to state every year I was there, right?
I know. And then you got out and you just started drinking too much and partying, and you missed the big leagues. Now you had to sign away your chance to go play. So
I can always stop juicing if I want to.
We should go take some BP one day and film it.
You'd lose about 50 pounds. I'd probably tear my rotator cuff again.
When did you tear your rotator cuff? In college?
Maybe when OU has a decent baseball program, they'll have like media tournament or something.
Opening day tomorrow.
Eddie's fired up.
Eddie, let's hear a prediction. Like, obviously you don't have to account for all the games they're going to play, but what are OU fans looking at for this baseball?
There may be
season?
no more intrigue for sports than baseball right now. I feel like that's a program.
I have
By the way,
no
tell me what
idea.
you were telling me about Kyler Murray yesterday.
I think he's going to start in left field
You went
for
to
him.
baseball media day
I
yesterday.
went out to media day yesterday, and it just seems like Kyler Murray is definitely I think he'll be in the starting lineup tomorrow, opening day, but he's playing left field for him a little bit.
We didn't mention
batting
this,
1-2 hole, and it's going to be interesting. The weekend of the spring game, OU has a 3-game series in Austin against Texas, and I don't think that there's any doubt that he's going to be with the baseball team. I think he's a pretty pivotal part of this team.
Well, in this spring schedule, the way it is, they're going to practice some after the spring game, but it is more condensed than it's ever been. It's never been like this.
March 21st is when they start, right? Mm-hmm. And then when's the spring game?
April 8th.
April 8th. Whew. And you have spring break the week before, the 13th through the 19th. So you get right back from spring break. Welcome back from Padre. Welcome back from Biloxi, wherever everybody's going this year. You got practice.
It's cool that
There's going to be a lot of kids throwing up on the first day.
It's cool that Kyler Murray's going to start and be good at baseball. I love two-sport guys, multi-athlete guys. But Chris Robinson's on campus, right? So you have to think the writing's kind of on the wall there. How's he going to come back from baseball and then immediately jump back over Chris Robinson, who's
Plus, he's got Austin Kendall there, who's not too shabby.
Right, exactly. So I think the writing's on the wall there. Then that Murray's position of the future may not be quarterback.
That's the funny thing to me is, look, we don't know, we haven't seen enough of him, but I've seen enough of Austin Kendall to think maybe he's a guy that just kind of has that it factor. Like, what if it turns out that Austin Kendall just becomes the quarterback?
Best guy out of everyone.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but we haven't seen enough that the possibility could exist.
Well, if he went to any other Big 12 school, he might be the highest-ranked quarterback on campus.
I mean, did you see him play like crap at all the few times that you've seen him play?
No, I mean,
he just went
he's
in, did
barely
what he was
thrown the
supposed
ball.
to do, and
he's
got
calm.
out of there.
He's really calm too. He never looked like a true
He
freshman.
moves okay. I mean, he's not Baker, but he's not. I'm trying to think. He's not Landry Jones. Moves better than Landry ever did.
I guess, Josh, tell me if I'm wrong. I guess the thing about Kendall is his upside, just because of his natural tools, just cannot be as high as somebody like Chris Robinson or Cameron Rising, just because he doesn't have the elite
telling you,
tools.
Austin Kendall throws the ball better than you think.
Yeah, but can he hit it like a 20-yard out?
He can. I think he can.
He can.
I'm saying
Yeah.
he can.
He's not like, I wouldn't put his arm talent there with Robinson or Rising. I think they're both better prospects. But again, he's going to have 2 years a head start on either of those guys. So, I mean, that's a huge deal. And I will say with the Kyler Murray conversation, if Kyler Murray plays more than this year of baseball, I'll go on record, he'll never start a game at quarterback at Oklahoma.
If he goes to that Texas series, I'm going to say it right now, he won't even be the backup quarterback next year.
Yep, I agree. I agree.
The way that they talk about him, and people can say what they want, but
As a
PQs
baseball guy?
can evaluate a baseball player. He kind of yesterday he compared him to Trae Turner, and if you are familiar with Trae Turner, Washington Nationals, I believe he plays shortstop, right?
Yeah.
And he got called up at the end of the year last year and was absolutely unbelievable. But he said that's the type of speed that he thinks of when he talks about Kyler Murray's. Trae Turner with the Nationals.
Well, can you imagine the decision-making for Kyler Murray, though? I mean, he's a guy that hasn't played any sport competitively in 2 years now. Hasn't played baseball since he was in high school, has he?
No, he didn't, because he didn't ever do anything down in College
So
Station.
he's probably dying to play baseball again. He's probably kind of making this decision on emotion.
Just to be out there.
And if he goes out and starts, it's not like a Cody Thomas thing where Cody Thomas didn't play, struggled a lot. Probably didn't have a lot of fun out on the baseball field. He had no choice but to come back to football.
Yeah.
If Kyler Murray plays really well and starts, hell, he may never play football again.
I don't think that's crazy. And you saw just how easy, or I guess not easy, but once Cody Thomas got it going towards the end of the year,
he was good.
He was extremely good, and he went to low rookie ball and ended up batting like 570 over a 2-week period and had like 7 home runs
By the
and
way,
12 RBIs.
He skinnied up really fast. Did you see him on the field after?
I saw a picture of
Bedlam?
him at the Diamond Ball dinner for baseball.
Yeah.
And he definitely has a little bit.
He shed a lot of that muscle really fast. But, no, I mean, that's something definitely to watch. And if Kyler Murray's starting, boy, yeah, I mean, I know this will freak everybody out on the boards, but
Yeah. We'll be out there tomorrow, though. It'll be interesting. I fully expect him to play. They had an inter-squad scrimmage yesterday. He led off, played left field for the quote-unquote starters. So I definitely think he's going to be out there, and it'll be a lot of fun to follow, just to see kind of how good they are. Josh, you asked what I expect, and I really don't know. I think that they obviously need to make the NCAA tournament if Pete Hughes wants to come back next season. So it'll be interesting. They have 19 games to start the season at home now with this Long Beach State series moving to Norman. And
does Pete have 2 years left on his deal?
I think he has one more. Yeah, 2 years
So he'll
from
have
now.
one after this
including this one.
Yeah.
But they definitely need to make the NCAA tournament. You can't go 4 years at Oklahoma without making an appearance, and you never know. Sonny Galloway's only living 20 minutes south of here. Things start going bad. I could see him starting to show up at the ballpark.
That would be awkward.
He would jump all over that.
Joe would never do it.
No.
Joe
Bring him
is
back.
never going to bring back Sonny.
No.
He might if he says he does it for like half the
He's
price.
never going to bring back Sonny Galloway.
Nope. Those bridges have been burned.
There's no way. Just stop
Sonny's a
it.
good architect,
Just stop
an
it.
engineer. He can rebuild that bridge. It might be
And
built
he's
with
just like-
gasoline.
His buddy
There's
Toby.
gasoline just coming out of Eddie's
Look,
mouth.
I
right
will
now.
say this. Sonny Galloway, I know you're probably listening because your ears are burning anytime somebody talks about you. If you pledge to replace that stupid-ass AstroTurf pitching mound, I will back you as the next head coach at the University of Oklahoma. Bring back dirt.
If he doesn't bring back bunting too, his teams in bunting, I cannot stand watching that kind of ball. The Pete Hughes teams may not win, but at least they're taking hacks.
He has had a lot of hitters, a lot of people that'll swing the bat.
Yep, that's the baseball I like to watch.
All right, what a way to end it. Some baseball talk.
Baseball talk.
Here we go.
That was baseball talk.
That's an off-season unofficial 40 podcast for you, ladies and gentlemen.
Is anyone still listening?
There were so many other things we could have gone into, like the combine. We'll have plenty of time to do that, but Pro Day will be coming up at OU. There's been no date released on that. We've kind of talked about how big it'll be for Joe Mixon, but the 3 guys that'll be going: Dede Westbrook, Charles Walker,
and
Samaje P. Ryan. So
I was a little
Jordan
surprised
Evans, yeah.
that Evans didn't get invited. I don't know.
I
I
think
thought
that's
he
crap.
could have got invited, and I think that
Ahmad
Jordan
Thomas.
Stearns should have been invited from OSU.
He got invited to the Senior Bowl, didn't he?
Yeah,
Jordan
and
Stearns?
didn't get invited to
That's
the
strange.
He's a good
combine.
player. He doesn't ever get his due.
He's a good player, but he's going to get paralyzed one day.
The way that he hits.
Yeah, he's a helmet leading crown guy.
Was there too much put into the 18 guys from the Big 12 not being or being invited, or is that just the pathetic state of the conference?
Unless you can somehow figure out that there will probably be 50 guys next year, and it was just a down senior class. But I don't think that's the case.
No.
I mean, 18 is, man, that's embarrassing.
Texas is down. Now Baylor's down. I mean, who's the? I mean, TCU sometimes sends some guys, but they don't really have anybody. There's no second team really emerging in the Big 12 here. And Oklahoma, I mean, they probably should have sent more than 3 people. I mean, Joe Mixon should be there. I think Jordan Evans should be there.
But, every major university is going to feel that way, Joe, that, this guy could have been there. That guy. I mean, don't get me wrong. Joe is a special circumstance. But, like, a guy like Jordan Evans, he's a maybe.
I heard
I'm
Mike.
sure LSU and Alabama have 5 guys like that.
Look, I'm not here to defend Joe Mixon. I was listening to Mike Florio this morning, the guy that does Pro Football Talk, and he was talking about how ridiculous it is that guys like Joe Mixon aren't going to the combine because if anything, that gives every team a chance to talk to him instead of having to say, because teams, they're going to have to talk to Joe Mixon. Like, this is a rule that's not that the NFL GMs aren't behind about not inviting people that have been involved with either domestic violence or some type of violence, because every team is going to have to interview him anyway. Even if they don't plan on drafting him now, his talent is so good that even if a team thinks that they can't get him or sign him, whether it's a New York or whoever, they still want to interview him just to see what they think.
I don't get what it accomplishes because he's not ineligible for the draft. So if he's just not at the combine, all you're doing is giving people less information, which I don't ever understand.
And you need as much information as possible.
Exactly. I mean, we're not defending Joe at all. We're just saying that if you're going to make these decisions about somebody, what the heck does it? I mean, you should be getting as much information as possible. And if you say to yourself, okay, well, we just don't want him in our league, we're changing everything, we don't want those kinds of people in our league, then that's fine, that's your decision, but then don't let him be drafted. Why let him be drafted and then not invite him to the combine? It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
Well, and the other thing is you get to put him in front of that big media scrum. Like, you get to see how he reacts to it. And B, you get those questions out of the way before he's wearing your team's colors.
Yep.
Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, somebody's still going to ask, but it's a lot more tempered because it's the same thing we talked about when he was at OU. Like, eventually those questions are going to have to happen. Like, in the media in New York or Green Bay or wherever it may be, you're going to want to want answers to those questions, and that gives you a chance to do it when he's not on your hands. He's not your problem. He's just a prospect.
Yep, you don't have to spin it. He can have,
exactly.
He has to deal with all that
it's
stuff.
It's not your deal.
Yep.
Well, and the other thing, I mean, I don't know, maybe the NFL doesn't want a guy like that going out and running a 4.3 or something. Because then he becomes
the talk of the combine.
Yeah, the talk of the combine.
He probably would too.
Maybe the NFL just hates his agent too.
I think everybody hates him. I've never heard Josh say that about somebody.
Hey, God, I ranted about that. Like, you are a personal representative. All you were paid to do is make someone look good and make them money, and all he did was the exact freaking opposite.
Yeah.
Was he the one that said
negligence?
Was he the one that said they got the first round grade and then it came back that they didn't get
Didn't even
send in any information?
Well, he said that people told him that he had a first round grade. Yeah, but then it came back that Joe never even submitted for a draft grade.
Why lie like that? Why? Why?
Hey,
on
Joe,
earth?
how long have you been doing this? I've been doing this 30 years. 30 years, okay?
Oh, God. And he's been the president of the lacrosse club in Denver.
Was that not the greatest old man cry for, yeah, I still look good. I take care of it. Like, okay, dude. Like, everybody needs to know you were running for lacrosse.
I was doing gassers down in the valley.
Yeah.
That's when you almost have to go to his next lacrosse game and punch him in the face. In fact, I'll give a free subscription to somebody that does that.
That's probably why he became the president. He was tired of people punching him in the face.
Yeah. He just a complete loser.
There's a rule, like it's subsection 1523. If you punch the commissioner in the face, you will be ejected from the league permanently.
I would join the league just to get kicked out of the league.
Eddie doesn't even know which end of the stick to hold. He just walks up there to hit him.
I'd shave mine into a shank and then stab him.
Go, was it the Last Boy Scout where he runs down the field just shooting people?
Pull out a gun.
Yeah.
He's probably not going to come on this podcast, is he?
This may cost
I doubt he's done an interview at all since that sports animal
since
interview.
then. That's probably. You think Mixon was giving him that?
What the hell were you doing?
Yeah, it'd be pretty bad if Mixon went to him and said, "Dude, you're really embarrassing."
How bad is it if you don't want your agent out there representing you? What the heck is an agent for?
Look, I've seen a few things on social. Like, I guess Joe Mixon has been like contacting Ezekiel Elliott and all kinds of people and stuff, and he just looks bad right now.
Hot gossip. Saturday night after the Thunder game, Joe Mixon and Money Mayweather were at Dollhouse together.
Really?
I know that for a fact.
The money team.
Who were you with?
I
Mixon.
wasn't at Dollhouse, but
you weren't there.
No, I heard that happened.
You know people.
I know people that were there.
Well, I mean,
He has familiars.
He's got
eyes
and ears.
Our guy at the sports animal, Michael Doty, and Curtis Fitzpatrick both walked by Joe
Mayweather?
Mixon and Mayweather together.
Yeah, they were together. They went to Dollhouse.
Wait, I think I just put. He's hanging out with Floyd Mayweather.
A boxer.
Seriously, how good does that look? Like, if you're his agent, okay, dude, Joe, we want you to be low profile, we want you to be cool, and the one damn guy we want you to not be around is Floyd Mayweather. Don't be within 100 miles of Floyd Mayweather.
Is he going to go hang out
for 1,000 reasons?
Don't hang around with people whose hands are weapons.
He's going to go hang out with O.J. Simpson tomorrow.
Well, that has a track record of beating women.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And
I
not
forgot
caring
about
and
that.
not apologizing.
Well, I don't know if they were together. I shouldn't say that, but they were at the same place.
Well, Kerry just said he saw them. Other people saw them together. There's no way that's a coincidence.
Yeah.
It's a bad deal.
Yeah,
I wish
he's in control of it.
Joe would make better public decisions.
Yep. He's in control of it all.
But I don't know.
Gonna look good in a Patriots uniform, though.
I don't know that there's anything anybody can do for Joe Mixon. If he's going to crash and burn, he's going to crash and burn.
Yep.
Yep.
And Eddie, they've already got the running back, Christian McCaffrey. I don't even think he has to be drafted. I think he's already been. He's just a free agent signing already.
You're
for the
white.
Patriots.
You're
he may be
Boston.
practicing with
Is
them
he
already.
a coach's son? Is he scrappy?
Yes. Yeah. Tell me the stereotype of the Patriots that Christian McCaffrey does not fit.
I don't know. He fits everything.
Exactly.
He didn't punch
he's
somebody
that
like
dude.
LeGarrette Blount.
Not yet.
At least that was a guy.
It's true.
That
On the field, though, too.
completely stupid by Blunt, but just as an observer, that was great. That was great
By
television.
the way, Mixon's agent also represents Pac-Man Jones,
Oh God.
Maybe he's just a really
who also
good
got in trouble
character guy.
lately.
Just be smarter. Just you can. I know this is probably not even smart to say, but if you can be a jerk, just how hard is it to make it look like you're not a jerk? You know, how hard is it to make it look like you know to do the right things?
We need
to stop.
Yeah.
Next-
There's no making sense of this thing.
Next podcast, we need to take guesses on which Sooner will be arrested over the summer.
That's pretty bad. You're basically just
There will be one.
saying, who do I think is a bastard on this team?
Eddie, do you remember the infraction story and how well that went over?
Yeah, we're working on it already for 2018.
We might as well just make a list of who we believe are the worst people on the team.
Do you want to start at 10 or do you want to start at 1?
We're not starting anything.
I thought Eddie was
To
going
be
to drop
fair,
a
hey,
name.
we can do one for ourselves. Who's most likely to get arrested in the Sooner Scoop? You know,
That would
crew.
probably be me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I
Depends
think
on the
Eddie's
night.
got to be a heavy favorite.
I don't drink and drive. I park and sit.
But he's got street smarts. I've been around the streets of Atlanta after midnight with Eddie. I think he knows how to
Yeah, but
avoid trouble.
he also talks back a lot.
Sometimes
Yeah.
I know my place. I've been pulled over in Norman with an open container and they let me go. So
See, don't talk about stuff like that.
untouchable.
You realize you're on a podcast with the two people that determine your employment, right?
I feel comfortable.
That's the worst decision you've ever made right there.
Carrie, once Eddie and Joe leave, give me a call.
All right. Well, let's
Open book.
We got what we needed out of Eddie today. Let's end this thing. I want to say again, Joe, just a fantastic job working the Trae Young thing. Trae Young, huge commitment for Lon Kruger. I'll say this. As far as Trae Young, Lon Kruger, really good to see. I almost feel like I'm being naive saying this, but it's really good to see a guy that you believe deep down in your heart that does things the right way.
Yeah.
Be able to sign a kid like that, or at least get a commitment from a kid like that today.
As close as I can to assuring people that they do it as clean as possible, they do it as clean as possible. Lon Kruger not only wants to do it clean, just I think Stoops wants to do things clean, or at least the perception of clean, just because he doesn't want to get in trouble, doesn't want to deal with that mess. Kruger legitimately enjoys the process through a more normal, old school kind of clean way. He doesn't like to deal with agents. He doesn't like to deal with AAU. He likes to go through high schools. He likes to go through parents, and like Kate said, it's nice to see that kind of recruiting can still go on in basketball, because it really doesn't in a lot of other places.
But great job following that. Josh McQuistion, we appreciate you being a part of this as always. Eddie Radosevich here in studio along with Joe DuVall. I'm Kerry Murdoch, and next time we'll talk about OU's Junior Day, right?
Maybe some
Have
commitments.
a podcast talking about that. Maybe some commitments after the weekend. So huge weekend. Keep following us on Soonerscoop.com. If you haven't already, make sure you go rate us on iTunes. And please, like we said, we're going to keep doing podcasts every week. I know we missed last week, but there's always stuff for us to talk about. There's always stuff for you guys to read on the Crimson Corner message boards. Recruiting, as we said, never ends. So if you're not a subscriber, go check it out. Just like with Joe DuVall, you would have been kept lock in step every step of the way with Trae Young's decision. Recruiting, the next class is starting to build right now. Be a part of that on the Soonerscoop.com message board. So go join us at Soonerscoop.com. Become a member. I can promise you won't regret it. You'll be more informed than you've ever been. Just look at some of the questions we get on Facebook. if you're a member, you don't have to have all those questions. So there you go. There's your sales pitch for the day. That's going to do it for me, Kerry Murdoch. Thanks to the guys, and we'll see you guys next time on the Unofficial 40.